we have a school of 300 children, very multicultural school. We have 35 different nationalities. We have a very multicultural cohort of students at the school and parents, which we find that that poverty is an issue at our school. We have approximately 130 families receive EMA, Educational Maintenance Allowance, which means that they earn approximately $19,000 or less a year to support their children at home.
In 2008, MusicaViva in Schools, with the financial support of Arts Victoria, embarked on an extended residency program at Sunshine North Primary School. This program saw an experienced musician working in the school for 50 days over 3 school terms. The aim of the residency was to allow for a more intense music education collaboration between the musician and the staff, students and the broader school community. It was a more in-depth, interactive program than usually offered by MusicaViva in Schools, with the musician working with the music teacher and classroom staff across all grades. An important goal for the project was to leave a lasting legacy of music participation.
Well, my role at Sunshine North has been principally to kind of establish a drum culture and a singing culture in the school, where it hasn't really had much of a kind of instrumental music program. And so that's working through all the children in the school, no matter what level they're at, and finding a way that they can drum together and sing together, and also work together to kind of compose their own music.
I just want to check these, and it's you. What's the order? So who's first? Who's second?
Well, David started by teaching the kids some traditional African rhythms and some traditional songs, and South American, I think. And they went from that. The older kids were making up their own rhythms and trying to write their own songs as a grade. So each grade has worked on their own composition, and then he ended that by actually recording each grade's composition on a CD. Well, I actually was interested in African drumming beforehand. This was a big coincidence, so I tried to do a couple of lessons in drumming. So this actually came along at a good time, and I've learnt to play the djembe myself. And David had been taking me for an hour a week, teaching me on my own some sort of more complicated things.
First, they don't want to miss a drumming group with David. 2, the enthusiasm to learn something new, because we've never taught drumming here. We've had performing arts, but often learning, the kids, and we think traditionally, learning is seen as sitting at a table and chair. To be able to learn the drumming, and when I first went out there, walked past the performing arts room, and David had a quite complex session happening, and I spoke to Emma that afternoon and said, I don't know if these children are going to learn this. It's quite challenging, and she kind of agreed with me, being hesitant in what was going to be taught. To David's credit, that he has brought them on in leaps and bounds, but he threw the challenge out there, and we often talk about this in our school, in raising the high jump bar to what level you'd like to get to. Learning doesn't have to necessarily happen at a table, in a chair and in the classroom. Learning can happen all over the school.
One, two, three, four. What you do is you stand above it and you let your weight fall into the drum. Just the weight of my arm. So you can get a deeper sound.
We are very keen on promoting the whole child, and the whole child is really important to our school, and that's why we have a very strong student welfare program at our school. Performing arts is really important in this program, as is art and all different aspects of learning. We have a philosophy probably here that we believe it's a very safe and caring school, and kids want to come to our school.
It's been very difficult to get parents involved. We have, and the ones who have been just great, just brilliant. Yeah, when MusicaViva played, we had some parents there. It was really strategic to kind of get that on the kind of parent teacher interview day, so to kind of get them there. Parents got involved with the public workshop that we had.
I think we only had one parent turn up, but there was another group of parents that were doing something else in the school, so we actually got them to come along and join in, and they really got a lot out of it.
Throughout the project, there was a deliberate aim to get the students of Sunshine North Primary School to perform in the school and local community. This gave them a goal to work towards and a sense of achievement.
They have done a few performances. One, their first kind of public outing was to David Hobson, a quite renowned opera singer who visited the school. And the drum group and one of the Year 2-3 classes and the choir all got up and performed a version of Fwaba, a song from Guinea. And they were great, really fantastic. And that really was a shot in the arm for the whole project. And since that time, we've done some other performances, which have been in conjunction with a MusicaViva group that I perform with, called Imbasima. So each of the 5-6 classes got up and performed in the concert, and we created an arrangement specifically for each of those class groups that work with that piece. What was the real standout moment is when we went back to the classroom and the kids had a chat to David. And hearing the intelligence of their questions and how wonderful it was to be part of that exchange for them. And I'm in the position in that situation where I could kind of be in their shoes a bit. What's it like to have this person come, who they know through TV, through a media that they love and enjoy, and can ask the great questions, the kind of questions you want to know if you're living a life. You know, it's really fantastic. It's funny, you got to kind of dig in them to kind of find out, you know, they're excited, but I've been just so surprised at how normal it's sort of been for them. For me, it's kind of a big deal. You know, let's go perform, and they're just going, get out there and just kind of do it, and they don't sort of think twice about it.
The children have actually seen that they're working towards something. They're not just learning these things because I want them to learn them. They've got a goal to work towards, and it's really focused them and made them want to try and get better at what they're doing. We
did a performance for the whole school, which many parents and students, the whole school saw. The children out the front were very proud of their performance. And it was wonderful. I think I sat with you, shared with you, Lisa, that some of those students out the front were swans, students with additional needs. To see them radiate proudness and their skill level, that they could be drumming like all the other children, was fantastic. The children have been wonderful in terms of the equipment that we provided for them in the drumming, the respect for the equipment itself. And also that interest in being at school, as I said, it was, and also that flexibility. We did a drumming group at the front of the school as we walked out yesterday with some parents, and that group bonding that happens is that we all help each other carry the drums out. And you see not only children who are in the drumming group, but you'll have parents, you'll have other children that are walking past that see that we need to support everyone here, and so they come on board with it.
MusicaViva in Schools has over 25 years of experience delivering music education to primary school students. With this experience comes a wealth of music resources that David Hewitt could draw on. David has worked with MusicaViva in Schools ensembles for many years and in a number of groups presenting music to primary students. It was this experience that gave him the guidance and resources to deliver this type of program into the school.
There are a whole bunch of things that I have from the groups that I work in, whether it's in Basima or Batuta, any of that sort of material that I've used over the years, that is kind of pretty tried and tested. I know that kids can do it. I've seen it. So it's great having that fallback thing, both because kids enjoy that material, but also because it meant that I could then go further with stuff and know that there's a good base. So there was good stuff to develop ensemble skills, good stuff to develop singing of different languages, so get their kind of vocal ability up without the kind of constraint of their own, of English, which has its kind of baggage in terms of, you know, what that means to be singing in English. They just sing the sounds. So yeah, it was really, really, really helpful. And especially then having a group come and perform that material and being able to put it into context. So rather than me as the solo performer, I come and play some songs and sing. Then there's this other context where I'm actually showing them how I work in an ensemble.
I was actually surprised how many things were things I tried to do with the kids last year, which was my first year of teaching performing arts, like trying to have different instrumental rhythms happening at the same time and things like that. David did so many things that I'd been trying to do, and so I have seen new ways that I can do the things I've been trying to teach.
First of all, it's great to work in a team with the kids. I've been in situations where you're on your own with that, and being both a kind of disciplinarian and directing them creatively is difficult. And we can shift roles, and it works both ways, in that sometimes Emma will be in a situation where she's prompting some kind of creative input into what the children are doing, and sometimes, and I'm left to kind of be the bad cop and make sure that everything's running to schedule, and sometimes it's the other way around, where she'll just sit back and I kind of will direct what's happening creatively and what the project is, and she can just make sure that everyone's focusing. So it's been a great kind of team thing.
By David working together with Emma, she is now familiar enough with the material and techniques to teach it to other classes. In addition, David has selected students from the older classes to assist in teaching the younger children and to be mentors and role models. The aim was to strengthen bonds across the age groups, empower the older children through responsibility and leadership, while supporting and inspiring the younger children. The entire staff at Sunshine North Primary School took part in professional learning to ensure there was the enthusiasm and knowledge left in the school to continue this program into the future. Drumming continues to play a large role in the school's curricular activity, with auditions taking place to invite a new cohort of students into the drumming ensemble. Other activities that have taken place include a mentoring workshop with Bayside College. This helped the students to learn and engage in different styles of drumming and to foster the relationships within the school and the broader community.
We're really excited that we can continue this program. We have already started putting some planning in place, in that when David does leave, that the drumming group continues, and drumming within Sunshine North Primary School. We also have put into place that we're at our PD coming up on staff, is that David will take a session in drumming, as we have some staff members who would be very keen to learn drumming, and they would like to join that drumming group.
The staff are brilliant. I mean, I have been made to feel so welcome. Everyone knows what's going on. Everyone's really grateful for what's happening with their children, and they let me know.
We had a curriculum day, and as part of that, David had an hour where he could teach the staff to play the drums and bells and so on. And I was not sure how the staff were going to take it, because we had this day devoted to maths, and some of the people were saying, what's that got to do with maths? But it was actually a really, a really great moment, and everyone picked things up really quickly, and we all worked together, and everyone was actually really surprised by how well we all played together.
I have to take my hat off to teachers now, because they're just flat out what they've got to do. So I would feel really lucky at how accommodating they would be. I'd ask to take some kids or can I swap times, and they most of the time would do that. And I knew at what cost it was to their program to do that. So I felt really supported.
The last act for tonight at our school concert is our staff drum group. Hope they've been practicing. Give them a big clap.
The first challenge that I think was working with large groups of children and keeping them focused musically, and the discipline that's required with that, and not just the kind of discipline in terms of, you know, do what you're told, but the kind of musical focus that we're all doing something together. And I found that really hard at first, to find a way to focus the children without, you know, resorting to shouting or, you know, losing the plot, which I did on a number of occasions. But ultimately, you know, to find a sort of way of focusing them in a more still way.
I think the biggest challenge is probably working with David, because as a performing arts teacher, it's all my own thing normally, and sort of working out when to sort of butt in and say something, or when to sit back and just let him take over and that kind of thing. I think because of the length of time, being a long-term residency, the children, they're not used to focusing on the same thing for a long time. So I think them having something where they had to follow up, it's not just a short, sharp activity and then we move on to something else next week. So that was, I think, was a challenge for them. Yeah.
Composing with a large group is always challenging. I mean, most composition usually occurs with one person, and sometimes it's collaborative with, you know, 3 or 4 people at max. But to do it with 20 kids was quite difficult.
So when the kids were writing their own songs, I think David pitched it a bit too high to start with, and they just didn't know what to do. They're not, being English as a second language and that kind of thing, they just sort of had their paper and their pencil and didn't really know what to do. So I think when he went then and took it back to make up a rhythm and then put the rhythms together and took it from that angle, that worked a lot better.
And it took quite a long time to figure out that each class has its own kind of innate personality, and to work with it and find out what makes it tick, and then get it working, rather than, there wasn't a one-size-fits-all, as I discovered, in terms of songwriting with the kids.
A normal residency usually lasts about a term, so it's about 10 weeks. This has been a lot longer. Anyone knows that in terms of learning, it's about relationships, and we have to have relationships, and it takes a little while to develop those relationships. By having an extended residency, that David has had the time to develop the relationships, not only with the staff here, but also with the students. And so, yes, look, at first when I was looking at it, this program beginning in our school, I thought it was quite slow, but I now know that it's not. It was the quality that was really important. And the quality has been produced because that David's had that time to develop relationships, and through relationships, learning's taken place.
The nature of this residency, being over a much longer period, has shown how music can impact so heavily on the students in more ways than just learning the techniques and intricacies of music. Socially and emotionally, this program has allowed the students to blossom, developing relationships with both David and their peers. There have been successes, challenges and learnings along the way for all. Every school is different, but it is through the fabulous support of the Principal Ken Ryan and the very enthusiastic response to the program from Emma Cocoldi that this was a true success.
I know all the kids, and they know me. I mean, I recognise all their faces, and I know most of their names. especially the louder ones who grab their attention. But they know me, which is really good, and they've been so warm. Probably from my point of view, the thing that I would do differently, perhaps how I would have started with different groups, because they each have their kind of strengths and weaknesses. You know, the younger kids will just take on anything. Their ability's limited, but they'll just so cooperative. And in many ways, I had my work cut out for me from the beginning, because I took on 5, 6 classes, and you know, they got all the ability in the world and intelligence, but you know, they just want to do what they want to do. And the younger kids are really like sponges, but you know, but their ability is quite limited. I think if I was to do it again, I would probably go to the middle, and they're the most. I got to them a little bit later than I would have liked. So it is difficult. Probably the most difficult thing in all that, to sum up, is timetabling and finding the time so it is possible to do that around the school timetable. And once the program got going, keeping the other balls in the air. And that worked well with Emma. She managed to do that, because as she learnt what I was sort of doing, she then just ran with it and I didn't have to do it.
There's one grade 5, 6J that were learning the four bar rhythm, and the first time they got to the end of it and learnt the ending, where they all just finished together, the first time they got that, it was just such a moment. They just all looked around and then burst out laughing, because they just sort of didn't know what to do. It just finished and they could hear how it was supposed to go.
At the VisiCares Hub, there was a lot of people from Sunshine of all ilks. Young people, older people, people who are into hip hop, people who are into art, because they've sponsored all these kind of workshops. So they performed in front of all these people, and I think the people were quite moved actually, because a lot of the performance at that event was people, you know, singing to karaoke or something like that, or it was kind of hip hop with all this kind of sound, and then it just came down to these 6 kids acoustically kind of playing in this room, and their own piece, their own composition, and yeah, you could hear a pin drop.
MusicaViva coming into a school like Sunshine North Primary School and providing a resource that we've never been able to tap into and give these children that opportunity, I think is really important. And so if it just makes one difference to one child, that they walk out of our school at the end of year 6 and into secondary school, and they can remember the time that David Hewitt was at our school and the drumming group, and that's led them on to a better life, that's really important.